Who made the world? Today we are going to look at this very important question using the formula that the Most High gave us. I am not going to use my formula or what I think. I am going to use the formula that has been given to us by the Most High to solve problems like this, all right? Because in the Old Testament it says one thing, in the New Testament it says another. We are going to solve that problem today. Who made the world? So we have to ensure that the lying pen of the scribe does not get us, and the way to ensure that is to stand by the law and the testimony. So the law and the prophets must be our validator of truth. Colossians 1 verse 16, for example. We are going to look now, and I want you to pay attention to this, at another of the deceptions in the New Testament. That is, who created the world? If I asked you, who created the world? What would you say? This is a question to all of us. If I asked you, who created the world? Because in Colossians 1:16, it says, for by him were all things created. This is speaking about the Messiah. For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. So this, people are starting to think now that, hey, this is the Messiah, isn't it? He created the heavens and the earth. But what does the law and the prophets say? This is how, what we are going to show, what we are showing you people is an example of how to approach understanding the word, of how to approach getting the understanding of the word. Whenever there's something like in the New Testament, there's a problem, you have to go to the law and the prophets as the validator. So what does the law and the prophets say? Genesis 1 verses 1 to 4, is it saying that Yahusha HaMashiach created the heavens and the earth? Genesis 1 verses 1. In the beginning, Yahuah created the heaven and the earth. There we go. We have a problem right away here. The New Testament is implying that Yahusha created the heaven and the earth. And then it says, God, Yahuah created the heaven and the earth. So what is what? Which is right? And you know, people try to reconcile both of this by saying, well, in the Old Testament, it says God created the heaven and the earth. And in the New Testament, it is implying that it is Jesus. Therefore, Jesus is God. Hey, boy. I suggest you look on our series, our playlist on Just the Word Shorts. Yahusha is Yahuah series. Okay? And also the Spirit of Anti-Messiah series as well. We also give an understanding. Verse 2, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Ruach of Yahuah moved upon the face of the waters. And Yahuah said, let there be light. And there was light. Yahuah said it. And Yahuah saw the light, that it was good. And Yahuah divided. Who did it? Yahuah divided the light from the darkness. And Yahuah called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Then the second day now. And Yahuah said, Yahuah created the heavens and the earth. Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And Yahuah made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. Now, this is the creation account. It's the only place in the Bible where it tells us, instructs us on the creation, what happened in the creation. Now, this is the creation account, and it tells us that the Most High created it. But if you ask most people today, they say Jesus created the heaven and the earth, because of some words that they don't understand in the New Testament. Let's go again. Isaiah 37:16. We're going to give you many accounts in the Old Testament to let you show. And if you believe before that this was not so, you are going to or should feel ashamed of yourself. Isaiah 37, verse 16. Who created the heavens and the earth? O Yahuah Sabaoth, Yahuah of Yasharal, that dwellest between the cherubims, thou art the Yahuah, even thou alone, 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 of all the kingdoms of the earth, thou hast made heaven and earth. You alone. You are no company. You alone. Yahuah Sabaoth, the Yahuah of Yasharal. And by the way, Yahusha is not the Yahuah of Yasharal. The Apostle Shaul says, for us there is only one Yahuah. Ephesians 4, verse 4. There is one body and one Ruach, even as ye are called in one hope of your calling. One Master, who is Yahusha. One faith, faith in Yahusha. One baptism, baptism in Yahusha's name. One Yahuah and Father of all, who was above all and through all and in you all. So the Yahuah of Yasharal, there is only one, Yahuah Sabaoth. More again, more. Who created the heavens and the earth? Isaiah 45, verse 11. Thus saith Yahuah, Holy One of Yasharal, and his Maker, ask me of things to come concerning my sons, and concerning the work of my hands commanded ye me. I have made the earth. Isaiah 45, verse 18. For thus saith Yahuah, that created the heavens, Yahuah himself, that formed the earth and made it. He hath established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am Yahuah, and there is none else. No, we got a verse like this now. Then now, we look to the New Testament and we say, no, Yahusha created the heavens and the earth. So this is now when it says that you will not be walking in the word, you will reject the word of Yahuah. This is when you reject the word. When you see it in the Old Testament and you see it in the New, and you choose the New over the Old Testament. This is when you reject the word of Yahuah. And this is when you will be taken. This is when you will be ashamed. This is when you will be in nothing but problems. Anytime you choose anything over this, you're done. More. 2 Ezra 3, verse 4. O Yahuah, who bearest rule, thou spakest at the beginning, when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commandest the people, and gavest a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands. And didst breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee. Thou, in verse 4, thou spakest at the beginning when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone. He didn't have any company. There was no company with him creating the world. His Ruach was there. It's Ruachoth, spirits that were there with him. No one was there with him. 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 55. More evidence to make the people be ashamed to believe otherwise. 2 Ezra 6, verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O Yahuah, because thou madest the world for our sake. Thou madest the world for our sakes. You, Yahuah, made the world. Jeremiah 51, verse 15. More. We are filling you up with so much so that you see very clearly that there is no doubt as to who created the heavens and the earth. Verse 14. Yahuah Sabaoth had sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heaven by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightning with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Yahuah Sabaoth, he is the creator. Psalms 124, verse 8, who is the creator of the heavens and the earth. Our help is in the name of Yahuah, who made heaven and earth. Daniel 14, verse 5. This is Bel and the dragon. Daniel 14, verse 5. Who created the heavens and the earth? Bel and the dragon. Who answered and said, because I may not worship idols made with hands, but the living Yahuah, who hath created the heaven and the earth, and hath sovereignty over all flesh. Yahuah created the heavens and the earth. The prayer of Manasseh, chapter 1, verses 1 to 3. You'll hardly see us using excerpts from the prayer of Manasseh. O Yahuah, Almighty Yahuah of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and of their righteous deed, who has made heaven and earth with all the ornament thereof. Yahuah made heaven and earth, who has bound the sea by the word of thy commandment, who has shut up the deep and sealed it by thy terrible and splendid name. Yahuah created the heavens and the earth. 2 Chronicles 2, verse 12, we are bringing you from all over so that you see that Yahuah created the heavens and the earth. Huram said, moreover, Barak be Yahuah Yahuah of Yasharal, that made heaven and earth, who had given to David the king a wise son, endued with prudence and understanding, that might build an house for Yahuah and an house for his kingdom. Yahuah made the heavens and the earth. Now, surprisingly, even Hamashiach agreed that Yahuah was the creator. Mark 13:18. And pray ye that your flight be not in winter, for in those days shall be affliction, such as was not from the beginning of the creation, which Yahuah created unto this time, neither shall be. Hamashiach is telling you that Yahuah created the heavens and the earth. So the Messiah declared it, but we still believe the Messiah is the creator. This is what we are telling you with this teaching, people. This is advice to truly understand the scripture, to the law, and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. And people will see us making certain teachings, and they're saying, but how can you say that? The law and the testimony, that is our lead. Because now we see in the New Testament, John 1, verse 10. And we're going to just show, after this, we're going to show the real meaning of these verses. We're going to show how translation has thrown us off. John 1, verse 10. Verse 9, that was the true light which lighteth every man that cometh in the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. So people see this and say, hey, he was in the world. The world was made by him. That means he was the one who created the heavens and the earth. And then they go a little further and say, if he created the heaven and the earth, and in the Old Testament it says God created the heaven and the earth, that means he is God. Error. Everything you have to use the law and the prophets. You have to use the law and the prophets to find out whether Yahusha is Yahuah as well. Abraham 1, verses 1 to 4. Hebrews 1, verses 1 to 4. When you see this now, Yahuah, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds, who being the brightness of his splendor, and the express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he hath by himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high. Being made, and this is a giveaway here, being made so much better than the angels. Imagine, he was the creator and he was made. Think about it, people. You have to read all of these things, and you will get hints to see our error. Being made so much better than the angels, as he had by inheritance. Let me not look at these words. Let me use it to explain when I'm done. Obtain a more excellent name than they. So when people see these things, oh, he is the creator. So we did Colossians 1, 15 to 17 as well before, didn't we? We did Colossians 1. I think we did. Let me see if we got everything. Who is the image of the invisible Elohim, the firstborn of every creature. This is what betrays it. In everything, it tells us there are some verses around it that actually give us the truth. Anyway, let me not dive into this as well. Let me just run through it. Ephesians 3, verse 9. And to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, which from the beginning of the world hath been hid in Yahuah, who created all things by Yahusha Mashiach. Eh? And here in this verse, we see the truth being betrayed, but it's not easy to see. When we get, let me continue. We'll soon get there. We'll soon get back to these. All right? So all of these, notice I put in brackets here, G1223. All of the words by that we saw is the word G1223, the Greek word dia. Now, this word dia is very interesting. I want you to look very carefully. So when it says all things were made, who made all things by Yahusha HaMashiach, this is the word by there, which is dia. It is a primary preposition denoting the channel of an act. I want you to notice something very carefully. After always, among so many biblical usage of this word, it is used so many times. But in the Strongs, it is used to mean through. Strong's definition. So in the Bible, it is used to mean through. I want you to listen to me very carefully. Just whatever you're doing, just look carefully. So it means through. Yes? In very wide applications, local, causal, or occasional. What does this mean? This causal or occasional. I tell you, these people like to use big words. The word causal there is telling you that it is done through him, and that through him means he caused it to be done. So when it says who made all things by Yahusha Mashiach, it did not mean that Yahusha created the heaven and the earth, but the creation of the heaven and the earth was done by Yahuah, caused by Yahusha HaMashiach. The word occasional, if you don't understand it, those in the Zoom chat, if you don't understand it, please let me know, because you will be our barometer today. You will be our law and the prophets today. So if you don't understand it, someone else won't. So it says local, causal, or occasional. So through means occasional. So by occasion of, because of. It is not that he did it. It's that he caused it. He gave the occasion for it to be done. Yes? In the Theos definition, the Theos definition is very, very good, because it separates the through. Remember, the dia there actually means through. So it separates the through into two different things. So the through can be of place, with, in, of time, throughout, during, by means, of means, by the means of. So it could mean that the world was created by the means of Yahusha. But when you see the other meaning, you will get the understanding. Through. The second meaning of through in the Thea lexicon, what am I doing here? In the Thea lexicon is the ground or reason by which something is or is not done. The ground or reason by which something is, I wish I had put it on the screen here. Can I put it on the screen quickly? One of these verses. All things were made by him. Let me get it and put it on the screen so you can see. So when you see now, all things were made by him, that word by there means he is the ground or reason by which something is done. This is what the dia means. He was the reason. So all things were made by reason of him. All things were made on account of him. All things were made because of them for this reason. Therefore, on this account. So all things were made on his account. So all things were made for the sake of. Another meaning in the King James Version is for the sake of. So why was the world made for his sake? Let's break it down. 2 Ezra 6, verse 55. 2 Ezra 6, verse 55. We looked at that earlier. All things were made. So all things were made by him or because of him for his sake, because the world was made for our sakes, the children of Israel. All this have I spoken before thee, O Yahuah, because thou madest the world for our sakes. This is why it's made for the sake of Yahusha. Because it was made for our sakes, and Yahusha is our king. He's not our Most High, our Mighty One. He's not our Yahuah. He is our king. So the world was made for our sakes. That's what it means by him. That's what by means. So the world was made for our sakes, and Yahusha is to be our leader. So the world was made for his sake because he is the king. And he is the foremost among us, the firstborn among many brethren. 1 Peter 1, verse 19. Verse 18, for as much as ye know that ye were not redeemed with corruptible things as silver and gold from your vain conversation received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Hamashiach, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who verily was foreordained before the beginning of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you. He was foreordained before the beginning of time. That's why the world was made for his sake. Because the Most High had planned before the beginning of time that he is going to be ruling the world. Revelation 11, verse 15. We're just trying to show you how we depart from the law and the prophets. We are going to go into lies. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in Shamayim, saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Yahuah and of his Messiah, and he shall reign forever and ever. This was why the world was made, so that Hamashiach can reign forever and ever. Psalms 2, verses 5 to 9. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. This is when Hamashiach is ruling, and the nations want to rebel against him. The Most High declared, yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. This was why the world was made, for Yahusha to come and reign as king on it. So when it says the world was made by him, it does not mean that he made the world. It means that the world was made on account of him, by the reason of him, for him, because of him, for the sake of him. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. Yahuah had said unto me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I will give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. This is why the earth, the world, was created for the sake of, on behalf of, for the rulership of Yahusha HaMashiach. Let's go to the book of Chanukh. The book of Chanukh tells us even more about why the world was made for HaMashiach. 48 verse 2. And at that hour, that Son of Man was named in the presence of Yahuah of Ruakoth, and his name brought to the head of days. Even before the sun and the constellations were created. By who? By Yahuah. Before the stars of heaven were made, his name was named in front of Yahuah of Ruakoth. So Yahuah named his name, and so that's why the Most High made creation based on him. Before all creation, this man was named, so the world was created because of him. So that he can have, the Most High can give it to him for an inheritance, because he is a son, and every good father leaves an inheritance to their son. And as earthly fathers, this is how we operate as well, isn't it? We work hard. When we're getting older, we start thinking, man, I have to leave this for my son. I don't want my son to start over from zero as I did. So I will toil harder and harder, and then I'll try to train up my child in the way that if I leave this earth, he already knows how to manage whatever is given unto him. So it is. So no, the Most High cannot die, but he trained up his child by sending him in this earth, let him learn obedience by the things that he suffered, and then he was exalted above all men when he overcame the wicked and was the firstborn among many brethren, and so he is to be given an inheritance. And at that hour, that Son of Man was named in the presence of Yahuah of Ruakoth, and his name brought to the head of days. Even before the sun and the constellations were created, before the stars of heaven were made, his name was named in front of Yahuah of Ruakoth. Notice now it tells us about future tense. Future tense. So he was not there to do creation. The only way he was there is the Ruakoth, the spirits that were in him were at creation. He will be a staff to the righteous, so that they may lean on him and not fall, and he will be the light of the nations, and he will be the hope of those who grieve in their hearts. All those who dwell upon the dry ground will fall down and worship in front of him, and they will barak and praise and celebrate with psalms Yahuah of Ruakoth. So when they bow down before him, it is Yahuah they will be exalting. And because of this, remember, the world was created because of him. Because of this, he was chosen and hidden in front of him before the world was created and forever. Hidden in front of him before the world was created. But the wisdom of Yahuah of Ruakoth has revealed him to the holy and the righteous, for he has kept safe the lot of the righteous, for they have hated and rejected this world of iniquity. Anyway, there's a lot more here. You can read it for yourself. Verse 2, 49, for he is powerful in all the secrets of righteousness, and iniquity will pass away like a shadow and will have no existence. For the chosen one stands in front of Yahuah of Ruakoth, and his splendor is forever and ever, and his power for all generations. And in him dwell the Ruach of wisdom, and the Ruach that gives understanding, and the Ruach of knowledge and of power, and the Ruach of those who sleep in righteousness. This is why the world was made by him, which means through him or for him, because of him, for the sake of him. The Most High will use him to encompass so many things and to accomplish so many things. Verse 51, verse 3. And in those days, the chosen one will sit on his throne, and all the secrets of wisdom will flow out from the counsel of his mouth. For Yahuah of Ruachoth has appointed him and exalted him. The world was made for his sake. Yes? He is the son of Yahuah. Anyway, let's continue. You can read it for yourself. So remember, Ruachoth, spirits were with the Father when he created the heavens and the earth. We already looked at Genesis chapter 1, and we did from 1 to 7 before, when we looked at the spirit of Yahuah hovered over the face of the deep. So it was Ruachoth, or spirits that were with the Most High before, at the time of creation, rather. So there were 7 spirits that were before the throne of the Most High in Revelation 5, verse 6. And you match that with John 1:14. Revelation 5:6. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Yahuah sent forth into all the earth, 7 spirits of Yahuah. And the Word was made flesh. This is how Hamashiach came to have these. The Word was made flesh. So a man was born, and he was given the Word, the Ruach of Yahuah, without measure. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his splendor, the splendor as of the only begotten of the Father, full of favor and truth. And his splendor was not of the Father, but of the only begotten of the Father. So wisdom was one of the 7 Ruachoth that was with Yahusha. Yes? Wisdom. Isaiah 11, verse 1 to 2. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots, and the Ruach of Yahuah shall rest upon him, the Ruach of wisdom and understanding, the Ruach of counsel and might, the Ruach of knowledge and of the fear of Yahuah. So wisdom was just one of the Ruach that was there with him. But wisdom was with the Father at creation. So it is Ruachoth, it is spirits that were with the Father. It is not men or a man called Yahusha or Jesus. It is Ruachoth. It is spirits. Proverbs 8, verse 12 and 22 to 30. Proverbs 8, verse 12. This is only wisdom now speaking. And if you hear the things that are spoken about wisdom, you would start to think, hey, this sounds like a Mashiach. It's the spirit that was in a Mashiach that was there at creation, not a Mashiach. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. So I just included this to let you know that it's wisdom that is speaking. Verse 22, Yahuah possessed me in the beginning of his way before his works of old. This sounds like Hamashiach, doesn't it? I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. This sounds like Hamashiach. Same Ruach that was in Hamashiach. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the deep. When he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep. When he gave to the sea his decree, that the waters should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth, then I was by him as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. Wisdom was with him. When it says the Ruach of Yahuah hovered over the face of the deep, wisdom was there with him. So wisdom was just one of the Ruachoth that Hamashiach had. Yes? So it was Ruachoth, it was spirits that were there at the creation. Now, even in the New Testament, it tells us that Yahuah is the creator. We just use that to show you. But we want to show you now, Hamashiach showed us that Yahuah is the creator. There are other places in the New Testament that tells us that Yahuah is the creator. The same Hebrews that told us that by him were all things made. In Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3, it tells us that Yahuah is the creator. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Yahuah, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear, were framed by the word of Yahuah. Framed, that means repaired, adjusted, mended, perfectly, joined together by the word of Yahuah. It is the Most High who spoke, and all of these things came into being. Acts 17, 23 to 24. Even in the New Testament, it tells us, who are we going to believe? For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription: to the unknown Yahuah, whom therefore you ignorantly worship. Him declare I unto you, Yahuah, that made the world and all things therein. He didn't make some things. He made and leave some things to his son. He made all things. Seeing that he is the master, Yahuah of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands. There we go again. There we go again. Revelation 4, verses 10 to 11. Yahuah created the heavens and the earth. The 24 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne, and worship him that liveth forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, Thou art worthy, O Yahuah, to receive esteem and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. They worship him that liveth forever and ever, that is Yahuah. And they said, Yahuah, you have created all things. Revelation 10, verses 5 to 7. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever and ever, that's Yahuah, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be no time any longer. Yahuah created the heavens and the earth. So what has happened to us? It is that we have been fooled by the Ruach of anti-Mashiach, the spirit of anti-Messiah. That is what has destroyed us or misled us. As long as we are in a religion that tells us Jesus is God, Yahusha is Yahuah, I'm very sorry, but we are going to be deceived. We are going to be deceived. 1 John 4, 1 to 6, we are going to be deceived. The spirit of anti-Mashiach. Beloved, believe not every Ruach, but try the Ruachot whether they are of Yahuah, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know you the Ruach of Yahuah. Every Ruach that confesseth that Yahusha is come in the flesh is of Yahuah. So as long as you confess that Yahusha was a man, a human being, not a God, not equal to Yahuah, not in a trinity or a binity, where Yahusha is Yahuah. As long as you don't believe that, then you are good. And every Ruach that confesseth not that Yahusha has come in the flesh, if you believe the Trinity, if you believe Yahusha is Yahuah, then you are not of Yahuah. And this is that Ruach of anti-Mashiach, wherefore you have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. You are of Yahuah, little children, and have overcome them. When you don't believe this, you have overcome them. Because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world. Therefore speak they of the world, and the world heareth them. We are of Yahuah. He that knoweth Yahuah heareth us. He that is not of Yahuah heareth not us. Hereby know we the Ruach of truth and the Ruach of error. So the spirit of anti-Messiah, Antichrist, is the Ruach of error. As long as we believe Yahusha is Yahuah and the Holy Trinity, we are going to be in error. It's the spirit of error that is going to be upon us.